As a leader, it's so important that you establish clear responsibilities, both within your team and across the organization. Doesn't matter how big the organization is, if it's 5 people or 500 people or more. You want to make sure that there's clear responsibilities outlined of who does what, so you're not tripping over each other. So in this lesson, I'm going to be talking about the importance of creating a RACI matrix. If you don't know what it is, don't worry, we're going to get into it for you to help you understand what it's all about. Because everyone who's involved in key processes, projects, initiatives, maybe even communications, has to know their role. It's essential to know who's responsible for what when it comes to any of these projects and processes. It's the handoffs between teams where most things kind of go awry, where stuff either slows down or gets completely messed up. So an essential tool that's going to help you as a leader is to understand what a RACI matrix is all about. See, a RACI matrix is kind of it's a chart, and it illustrates who's assigned at certain levels of responsibility with delivering and completing specific tasks, whether it's process, or it's a project, or some sort of communication. I like using this for all three of those forms: process, project, and communication. The RACI matrix clarifies basically the core responsibilities in ensuring that everyone does what they need to do and what they're supposed to do and assigned to do. Each letter of RACI stands for a particular word, such as R is for responsible, and those are people who do the work. Accountable, this is the person who delegates the work or signs off as being delivered. Consulted are those subject matter experts who are kind of asked for their opinion throughout. And informed are the people who just kind of need to know the progress. So again, RACI, RACI, acronym for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. So you go about to try and creating a RACI matrix. Well, it's actually pretty straightforward. If you follow some of these guidelines, I think you're going to be well set up for success. Essentially, you want to identify all the tasks that need to be done as part of that process, that project, or that communication. You want to list these on the left-hand side of the chart. Then you want to determine who are the key stakeholders that within some of that process, that project, or the communication, and put them along the top of the chart. Now, next thing you want to do is note who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. The easiest, simplest way to do that is just use the first letter of each word in each of the corresponding boxes along the chart with the task and the person who's kind of noted. So before implementing, though, a RACI matrix, it's important to make sure you talk cross-functionally with your peers and partners and other parts of the department who are people who are affected to see, are they bought into this or not? Doing so makes sure that you're more proactive and you're going to have better success. Now, when you go to implement a RACI matrix, if it's used effectively, it's going to provide you a tremendous amount of structure. I think it's something that you should never do independently. I've seen it done in isolation before, and it's never worked out because it's never received well. The delivery is honestly not good, and it's never going to be used. But if you map out roles and responsibilities together and you're aligned on the efforts regarding whether it's a process, a project, or communication, it'll be more successful because they feel like they're part of the process. I think there's some best practices that you got to keep in mind, though, when you are starting to develop this RACI matrix. Make sure that every task that you have noted has someone who's listed as an R, that they're responsible for it. As I said, do not create it in isolation. Make sure you bring along those key stakeholders with you so they're part of the process. When you are mapping it out, and this is why it's so great as a visual tool, try and balance out the number of R's that you have across everyone. If you have a lot of people who are maybe stuck in a certain category, so like let's look at R's and responsible as an example. You don't want to have somebody who has so many R's. It means they have too much on their plate. Only one person should have an A. One person needs to be accountable. If you've got more than one person accountable, then genuinely no one is accountable. It's kind of like that Spider-Man meme where they're just kind of pointing at each other. That's what happens in business. That people are going to point like, I thought you were responsible. I thought you were responsible. Then no one's responsible. Be careful to not have too many cooks in the kitchen as well. You shouldn't have everybody be consulted because everyone then has an opinion. And that just causes slowdowns, delays, and ultimately confusion. Sometimes you just want people to be informed. So not everyone needs to be consulted. I think far too many people, though, don't understand their core responsibilities and their roles. And there's a gap where there's maybe just not clear documentation on those expectations. So if you've got those tasks outlined, make sure it's really clear on what is expected with each task. I think if you have a RACI matrix and it's used the right way, you can improve your visibility into what's going on. You know more of what the process is, and there's more structure. And it's going to stop wasted effort, and it's going to stop duplicating efforts and people tripping over each other. But I think if you can successfully implement a RACI matrix, you stand more success with your process, your project, or any sort of communication efforts that you're doing as a leader.